Hello, everyone. My name is Wade Walby. Welcome to another night stream. Why am I saying another night stream? Um, I decided to basically try to talk about some things that I would like you guys to have a challenge. It is a Discord challenge and a education challenge, and it's the challenge is to build a lander that's small enough and cheap that's 1 foot wide, and it's going to be a small probe. I have ideas of it, but I want your idea. Now, you're going to say, why small? Well, you could basically have a bunch of them on a spacecraft, or they could be cheap. They can basically be a bit better than the Deep Space Two probes that were not successful with the Mars Polar Lander. But at least you guys will give me ideas, and if you have any pictures or drawings, please post them on Discord. Um, I should say my pals will probably will fix it up. Um, but yeah, now here are the rules. The rules are no airbags, which means that your spacecraft cannot land safely without airbags. Why? Well, just wanted more challenge. Because airbags have mass, and I wanted to make sure that there's less parts as possible, even though most likely don't need an airbag because of how light it is. And it could be materials that you want to. You can have it made out of stainless steel. I'm not sure if they can allow it on Mars, but it cannot be. It's not my rule, but it's actually the international rule. You must not put any bacteria. Make sure it's in a clean room. Make sure it has no organics like wood or rubber, nothing like that. You can't do that, or else you're going to think that there's life on Mars. No organic, nothing. You have to start with scratch. Titanium, expensive, but in a small percentage would be actually useful. Gold foiling for cooling. You can have all kinds of things. It must need a power source, like a solar panel. It cannot just be a battery and just die off, and then that's just it. We want it alive as long as possible. And it must be 1 foot wide. Any bigger will not be in the books. I should say, well, what is this going to be used for? I don't know. It's just a fun challenge. And this may actually be a real launch. Well, may, but if we guys work together and make this a reality. Because I know you're one of those in Discord. You probably know about electronics. And if you figure out a way to have a blueprint and help me out, this is going to be a small team of aerospace. Now, obviously, some of you don't like aerospace, which that's okay. You don't have to join in the pack to witness this, but the rules are no airbags. You can use retro rockets. It must have a camera, or else I'm not going to put it in. It must have an HD colored camera. It has to be colored. It cannot be black and white. It cannot. It's boring when it's black and white. I want it colored picture with HD. Enough to basically not be a crappy, cheap, better than a cell phone camera. Now, since there's a new battery coming out called solid state batteries, if that starts coming out properly, it's going to be very useful for this mission, because not only it will last for a long time, it will basically be better than lithium, but the only current one is lithium. So you can have any battery you want to, as long as it's rechargeable. And yeah, in solid state batteries, they don't have those crystals that grow. They just go through and they last probably forever, because it won't erode. So yeah, but still, the lander cannot have landing legs because of how light it is. You could just use here's a reference that gives you an idea. If you have no idea what the body looks like, you can have a cylinder body that's made out of titanium and a bottom of graphite. Why graphite? Well, graphite actually it's very heavy and it is very heat resistant and strong. So, reason why is the heat shield, there's supposed to be two parts: a parachute, a balut, or another type, but it has to be small enough. If there's three, not acceptable. But if there's two stages, you can have a heat shield that will not detach. And because graphite is actually on the tips of the space shuttle, so I know that graphite is used in, it's heavy, and that's why they have it in the only important spots. And it also helps with the balance of, buoyancy, because I have a lot of problems with aircraft because the space shuttle and Kerbal, I always get like it goes backwards, and I put something heavy on the front so it can, counteract it, the mass. So it's really good for keeping it upright, because if you have a bottom and lightweight material, it's going to not topple over. Yeah, it's, but in case, I do have another idea. It can use small landing legs, which could open where the engines would be. And it could be all different varieties. Let's see. It won't. Okay, so we have all of those, and you could fit a bunch of experiments. Yes, experiments. It must have experiment. It can have a temperature gauge, a atmospheric. And why would we even do this? Well, it's cheap and it's going to be cool, but it will be cheap, because if it does fail, we won't have to waste a lot of money on it. So once you have the idea, I'll figure out a way. I recommend probably the Electron rocket, which it's cheap, small, and actually a lot of people use it. And it's very successful. It did have a failure, but failures happen when you're having, very. And why not SpaceX? SpaceX is cheap but expensive, and they're for big rockets. They're not for tiny bitty probes. They're for big. And Elon Musk or the engineers be like, I'm not gonna let that probe. I mean, I could just put it on like a bunch of them, but I'm not gonna just put one probe. But the Electron rocket will be perfect, because it will be low mass, and it's cheap. In case if it does fail, there's always the opportunity to make another launch about it. And so I picked the Electron rocket. If it's not that, then we can try something else. We're not going to make our own rocket, because that's just expensive. And hello there. And takes too much, time. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but if we actually do this, I mean, I don't have enough money to actually, but we first need to build the spacecraft, test it, and then, well, first we need to design what it's going to look like. Then we're going to put it into tests, and whatever lander I like, I will pick. The rest of them could be scrapped, or I should say, they could go together, and we can modify them again to make better. But it will take maybe years, until we get the final picture, and it's going to be actually kind of cheap. Because I wonder if you guys out there probably have a lot of money, but it's not, because it is possible. But the Electron rocket and its fuel are expensive. Maybe there will be a launch and we can hitch a ride. I'll design the orbiter, because I got this. You just need to design the lander, and to see, if it does, work, because of what I believe is, because it's so small and cheap, and we need to test it. It would be very easy to test, because we could visualize it, because I think that normally NASA and JPL don't like to test their rovers and landers, because they're so fragile. They usually test like a fake, like another thing. So they only test them inside, usually, like roving around or landing, or but we'll basically do a direct, and it will be very yeah, 1 foot across. That's yeah. I probably made sure to, because there's an 8 foot ceiling, so I basically tried to put it into my brain. I'm like, okay, so it's 1 foot wide. So I'm making sure that I get this right. Or it could be smaller. But the maximum is 1 foot. Anything bigger will not be acceptable. And it has to be at least a chart that actually shows a reference. Could be. Um, so yeah, send your images or anything to Discord, and I'll raw them out, and we'll probably vote the one that looks better. I don't know, but the people that are not like don't want to play, I guess. But this is actually a good, interesting game that I basically want to see how your IQ is actually good. And if I see a lander, now you also can learn how to build a lander. You can just research some stuff. You can, look at other landers, and but they'll be bigger. But it's the same principle. But if you see any airbags, just don't, you know. I mean, you see what I mean. If you don't know why I won't, I'll see what you mean. Because airbags detach. It's just a one body. It just needs, slow down, retrofire, enter the atmosphere. You have to have like a heat shield. The heat shield could still be on, because that graphite should protect it, and it will heat up, and doesn't need a clamshell. But if it does, we'll probably do it if the physics, we'll start testing it. And if my theories are wrong, we can always add stuff to it. It's not like Wolf Coyote, like I'll stick to the design. This is going to be an international design that, from people that basically don't know much about Mars, and see what they come up, because your imagination, if you have a good imagination, you pretty much can have a good imagination, but a not smart thing about what Mars or the landers and stuff, and see what you come up with. And if you don't know how to draw, surely you can find somebody, but still, try your best. It's very easy to make a cylinder, trust me. Or you can make a cube, but it could actually be worse, because if it does land on its side, it's going to be very bad, because so might as well use a cylinder, because just so it can roll around. But now you could put any power source. You could even put a wind turbine, but hey, you could have both, like a solar panel. You could basically have multiple things. And what's really cool, yeah, so let your opinions into Discord and see what you guys know. And, it doesn't matter. I just wanted people to see it, and then, and then once we get ready, I'll just start it up, we'll be all clear, and yeah. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. If you like to see anything interesting, go ahead and press that like button. Oh my god. If you don't, then I have no idea what you think, but hey, it's just here. If you don't like this challenge, then don't do it. But if you like this challenge and you're curious, go ahead and go on Discord. Yeah, and see you guys.